My name is Modupe Ige Kachi. The Organ House Concert and Seminar Series is a safe and welcoming space for all of scholars, composers, performers, educators, and professionals, and anyone who loves music, for us to explore, create, and share. We're all about diving deep into music research, critical engagement, into music research and performance, with a special focus on the incredible musical and cultural heritage of Nigeria and Africa. It's a place where we can champion new ideas and critical approaches to music that are both locally relevant and globally resonant. I'd like you to think of this place as a home for all our musical passions. Here, we can freely share ideas, ask questions, and make suggestions. I'm very happy to invite you here again, and I cannot wait for all of our collaborations. And today, we are going to be talking about or having a conversation on integrating creative, artistic, and scholarly work in music. Now, how do you balance being a performer, an arranger, a composer, and a scholar and make them all work together? In recent years, artistic research has emerged as one of the core frameworks for knowledge production in music studies, inviting musicians and scholars to rethink the relationship between creativity and scholarly inquiry. In today's Organ House Concert and Seminar Series conversation, we have a versatile trumpeter, an arranger, composer, a band leader, and ethnomusicologist who will come and share his reflective, practice-based exploration of how creative and scholarly work can be meaningfully integrated within African music studies. And it is my singular honor to invite our guest, Dr. Joseph Kunnuji. Yeah. Hello, Dr. Kunnuji.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you very, very much for that beautiful introduction. And I know you might not like this, but I would let everyone in the room know that you're my big sister. For those of you who don't know, Sister Dupe is my big sister for real because I lived with her family. You might not know her as Dupe Akinola, but I lived with her family, the Akinola family, when she was Dupe Akinola. So yeah, that was when I was in high school. So thank you very much, big sister, for
Thank you.
having me, and thank you to the organ house. Thank you to all the professors in the house. Yeah, it's
Thank you
such a
so
big,
much.
big honor. It's such a privilege to be here. Thank you.
Well, the honor is all mine, actually. Thank you so much for agreeing to come on this conversation with us. So before we start, I'd like to tell all our viewers that in the course of the conversations, you might have questions that you would like to ask. Please note them down so you don't lose your trend of thought. And also, we also want to let you know that you obviously know that you can engage with us on our social media platforms, especially on our YouTube channel, where we have curated all kinds of conversations for your engagement. So please just go to the chat where the link is going to be sent to the chats. Please click on it, follow our YouTube page, and then you can also engage on all of those beautifully curated conversations that we have had in the past. And Dr. Kunnuji, thank you once again for agreeing to be with us today. I'd like you to please just say a bit about yourself. I know that I've said just a bit. I've just pinched, the tip of the iceberg. But can you please just tell people, share a bit about yourself, really introduce yourself to our viewers and our listeners today?
Okay, Joseph Olanrewaju Sewinu Kunnuji, from Badagry, a border town in Lagos State, Nigeria. And I spent about 10 years of my formative years in Badagry. I grew up I lived in Badagry until I was in GSS 1, I think. Yeah, until I was in GS 1. And after that, my father was an Anglican priest, so we were transferred to Lagos Island. So I lived a bit on Lagos Island, and from there moved to Agege, to Ikeja, to Ikorodu. And ever since my dad passed on while we were living in Ikorodu. So Ikorodu is home now. So all of this sort of shaped who I am today because they all came with musical experiences. You know, grew up singing in the choir right from say age 10, grew up also playing drums in the church and learned the trumpet in the boys' brigade. Um, After that, yeah, I studied sociology. Then after sociology, I just wanted to take a few graded exams, ABRSM and Muson exams then. But as I was completing grade 8, I was invited by the late legendary Mama Pata. So she asked if I would like to study further with the Muson diploma program. And at the time, actually, I got a job around the same time at Covenant University. I think the process was still on, but I was already working with the head of department of sociology. So it was a very difficult decision, sociology, music, and I can't remember exactly what made me opt for music. And within a very short period, we were already playing music around Lagos and eventually traveled to Yellow Spring, Ohio, for a blues and jazz festival through the cello teacher then, Miss Karen Patterson, was instrumental to that. So yeah, and all kinds of opportunities came the moment I started playing music, one of which was an opportunity to volunteer with the Limpopo Youth Orchestra in South Africa, and that was what brought me to South Africa to volunteer as a teacher, as a mentor, because it was a developmental orchestra, mostly with high school kids coming to learn music. And while I was there, I auditioned at the University of Cape Town and was so fortunate to have been admitted to study jazz trumpet. And while in Cape Town, yeah, my worldview sort of changed. My worldview was transformed. It was a moment of renaissance, I'll call it. It was almost like I began to see the things that I had taken for granted. I began to see how they actually matter and they can form the story upon which I'll build a career. And that was what happened to me when I was in Cape Town. I realized that, everybody wanted to play jazz, and I really loved studying jazz, understanding how harmony works and all of that. But the application of it, I brought home to my Badagry music. So yeah, I must really thank God for that
Yeah.
opportunity to study,
Mm,
to study jazz and jazz harmony, jazz arranging, and I was able
fantastic.
to deploy that to my indigenous music, Badagry Ogu music.
Mm, mm,
So also,
mm,
I saw the clip you played before the commencement of the session. It brought back memories. Most of those guys, in fact, all of them were people I studied with
mm,
at the University of Cape Town. And I realized that even though I wasn't like the best trumpeter amongst them, but everyone wanted to play with me because my sound, they said, was unique.
mm,
Like the sound, the kind of music I arranged, and the kind of, I made some really interesting arrangements of
mm,
songs from my childhood, and
mm,
that sort of stood me out within that scene.
mm,
It actually put bread on the table. God used it because
fantastic.
you know, if I wanted to compete, like playing what everyone was playing, I would have just been one of the trumpeters. But this one made me, it gave me some opportunities that I believe if I wasn't exploring my indigenous music, I wouldn't have had. So, following, while I was there, did 2 years of undergrad, then 2 years of master's, and also studied ethnomusicology at doctoral level. And all I was doing was trying to explore my indigenous music. And it so happened that I had the very, very good fortune of being a pioneer in this area. Not much has been written about Badagry music. And so my first article, second article, that project was centered on this musical tradition that people knew very little about.
Mm,
So again, it served to carve a niche for me. And while I was doing that, while I was doing postdoc, I had the opportunity again to interview for a position here at the University of Free State in Bloemfontein. Bloemfontein is in the heart of South Africa, in the middle of South Africa, very close to Lesotho. Lesotho is landlocked, is a country
yes,
inside of South Africa.
yes, it
So
is. Yes.
Bloemfontein is just say an hour from Lesotho. And Sutu people, you find that Sutu people are in South Africa and they are also in Lesotho. So that's the
Mm,
case with Ogu people in Nigeria and Benin
yes.
Republic and Togo. And so it's all the same. It's like the same theme repeating itself. I'm seeing,
Mm,
the kind of thing I'd embodied myself and I'd experienced growing up. I'm seeing it play out again here in the case of Sutu people in Bloemfontein. So being based here, I've had also the rare privilege of exploring the musical traditions from here. I teach African music and ethnomusicology at the Adian School of Music. And yeah, in that position, I've also had the rare privilege of serving as on the editorial board of the Journal of Musical Arts in Africa, JMAA, as well as the Journal of Artistic Research, JAR. So I must say it's nothing that I've done. It's been a lot of, just being fortunate, being in the right place at the right time, people recommending you. So it's not like I've actively done anything to be part of some of these things, but just proper positioning, and we can't rule out I believe that opportunities will always come if one continues. Like if you're doing what you're doing and you're doing it well,
mm,
doors will open. God usually makes these things happen. He makes
mm,
these things happen. Whether, my belief is everybody will get their own opportunity. So
mm,
it's how we use those opportunities that will set some people apart from other people. So again, the point being that it's all, not planned. A lot of it, academics will call it serendipity, but
yes.
we believe that there is God and God makes things happen. So that's such a long introduction. But
Fantastic.
that's
Thank you so much. That was a robust introduction. And thank you so. I was tempted to ask how many lifetimes have you lived? Because it's like you have crammed the lifetime of two or three people in one, and you're still going strong.
oh,
Thank you so much for that. Thank you.
thank you
Hmm.
very much, sis.
Okay, so let's get into our conversation. Now, Dr. Kuniji, you are a performer, arranger, composer, band leader, and scholar. These are critical labels with demanding roles, which often pull in different directions. How do you balance these identities in your daily work? And how are you sustaining this three-in-one scholar path?
That's such a big question. And it's quite an interesting one. Um, I think first and foremost, we need to understand that all of these things are intertwined, and it's a lot to do with the person in question. For instance, I think often we take this idea of, people introduce themselves as I wear so many arts, so many hats. I'm a composer, I'm a lecturer, and all of that. But I would challenge that. I think we shouldn't take that literally, that one person wears several hats. I would rather see it as you're wearing one hat that has many sides. And the reason I say that is your identity. Like, for instance, my identity as a conservative Christian, as a heterosexual male, as a father, as an Oguman, as a Nigerian, is not all of those put together actually shape the kind of contributions and how I see the world. All of those things shape my worldview. So it's not like, as what were those identities you mentioned: artist, composer, performer, researcher. I do not see them as separate. I see them, all of them, being intertwined in who I am. And a lot of it also has to do with, my background, the kind of exposures, the kind of opportunities that I had. For instance, up until now, I still write a lot about my childhood experiences. From, for instance, I'm currently researching Mr. Kende Okusanya. And what did I do to know Mr. Kende Okusanya? Nothing. I was just a choir boy, and he was my music director. So I believe that we all carry stories with us.
Hmm.
We carry a lot. We carry stories that the world wants to hear. So for another person, it might not be a performer, it might not be a trumpeter, it might not be, but you have your story that's sort of unique that the world wants to hear. So for me, how do you balance? The question of balance has to do with prioritizing, knowing that this is what the world wants to hear now. For instance, I tend to play less these days, and I understand that as a strategic positioning of myself to sort of harness or to do what is most important. For instance, I'm at a stage of my career where I feel what I need to be doing more is writing articles, trying to contribute on this musical heritage. And I
Hmm.
believe a time will come that I will be able to play, I will tend more towards performance. And so what I've done is to also, like, strategically use the resources that I have and the opportunities I have to foster this goal that I have. So one of the things that I tend to do is I do in my department, you can be funded. It's not automatic. You can apply and be funded for through one major one major performance work, whether you want to do a concert or you want to record an album or something like that. You can get funding to do one such project in a year. So
Okay.
what I've just told myself is I'm going to limit myself regarding my performance. And music writing. I will limit myself to one project per year.
Hmm.
So I'm not trying to do three albums. I'm not trying to do, I've just given myself one project per year. This year, I've written the proposal for the next one that I plan to do next year. And I want to have a major concert in August next year. So all my energy, my performance, everything, music writing energy is going towards that project.
Hmm.
So again, it comes down to identifying what is important and prioritizing it. So while I know that I turn down so many gigs, like people ask me to come play, and at the end of the day, you're playing their music. In fact, there is one orchestra in town. The orchestra conductor must really hate me now because he has asked me a few times to play second trumpet in his orchestra. And I'm like, second trumpet, what does it count? What does it count for in my fine, they will pay, or whatever will come from it. But you have
Hmm.
to ask yourself, is this enough to take away because you're going to spend time learning those music. You will see it, you will practice, it will take in a day, it will take X amount of hours.
Mm,
So, is that as important as me having just one concert?
mm,
Just one concert where I sit, I practice. My practice is channeled towards, okay, how am I going to approach this song? What scale do I need for this particular section? What scale pattern do I practice such that I know it inside out, such that when I'm performing, it comes out naturally. So those are
naturally.
the things that I put my energy towards. I must really confess, it's not everyone who has this privilege to be able to choose and say, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. But again, while not having so much, while not having that privilege, like, while not being in that position where you can choose what you want to do, I believe that one can still also, as much as possible, prioritize certain things, put your energy, put more focus, put more energy and resources into developing certain skills. While we must learn to say no to some
Mm,
things. So
interesting.
yeah, I hope I've answered that question.
I'm sure you have. I mean, prioritizing is very key. That was the key that I took away from what you have said. It's okay for you to have all of those different things, to wear one cap that has different sections, but for you to know which one is important at that point in time is very important to know. And for you, that was how you balanced your three-in-one scholar path, so to speak. Yes.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
Fantastic.
and another thing that I'll add to that is don't waste any opportunity. For instance, I recorded an album last June, and instead of treating it as an album done, dusted, released, I'm also treating it as research,
Ooh.
writing through the process, like what happened, what were the events that shaped, how did this album come to be?
Mm.
So it's like using one stone to
To
kill
kill many birds, so to speak.
many birds. So yeah. So while you're, for instance, that's why again it comes down to the issue of prioritizing. If, for instance, playing in an orchestra will be research for me, I'll say yes to it.
Okay.
Like currently I sing, interestingly, I'm not even I'm not a good singer, but I sing in a choir. And the
Oh,
reason I'm singing in that choir, I sing in the cathedral choir, the Anglican cathedral choir in Bloemfontein here. And the reason I'm singing in that choir is because it's a study for me. I want
fantastic.
to, like, it's a registered study. I want
Okay.
to see how the kind of music we sing at Evensong can exclude some people. For instance, we sing Bach, we sing William Byrd, we sing all of these composers from the West, and I can already see that this music is very elitist and is going to not be inviting. And the very essence of the gospel is really to reach out to people. So what exactly are we doing? So
Mm,
liturgical
mm.
music and liturgical enculturation is what that study is about. So for an average person seeing me going to that rehearsal now, that this guy is just wasting his time. But for me, it's a study.
Exactly. Which brings me to this question. Now, artistic research has now become a key framework in global music studies. From your perspective, what does artistic research mean within African context? And then, in the context of music studies and research, how does it differ from Western academic models or expand upon other academic models in Africa? So, can you just tell us what is artistic research to you? What does it mean in the African context?
Okay, the way I understand artistic research is it's like a method of inquiry, like a research method that is based on one's practice, be it as a musician or as an artist, as a graphic artist, as a fine artist, as a dancer. So this method, it's a self-reflexive method, something akin to like autoethnography. So that's the way I understand. It's a way of knowing that really takes from your practice as an artist. So it's really amazing that this style or this method, this approach to research is now recognized globally. Because there was a time that almost every field was obsessed with being scientific, let's be objective, whereas there is so much that one can take from subjective accounts. How have you experienced phenomenology, for instance? How have you experienced this particular phenomenon? From your subjective position, some people are saying we are marginalized. What do they mean by that? How are they experienced? So those are very subjective positions, and they actually have so much value, especially in the humanities. The way women feel in workspace, you can't undermine it. You can't sort of dismiss it and say, oh no, they are the minority. There is value in it. It helps our humanity. It helps us to be better as humans.
Mm, mm.
So yeah, artistic research, I'm really grateful that it's been broadly accepted and recognized in global scholarship.
Mm.
So that's my understanding. The second part of the question says,
How does it
can
differ?
you?
How does it differ from Western academic models in
Yeah,
context of studies and research? Yes.
I really do not see artistic research as different from. I think that question is problematic because I won't say artistic research is essentially African. I think it's the content that makes it, like what you're doing with it, that makes it African or Western or whatever you choose to call it.
Mm,
So, for instance, like I mentioned, I serve on the editorial board of the Journal of Artistic Research. And I must say that most of the submissions we receive are actually from Europe. So
mm,
it's sort of problematic to say how does it differ from the Western model. I think it's a neutral model. It can be Western. It can be used to tell a Western story. It can be used to tell an African story. So it's mainly the content. It's the use that you put it to that really makes it African, or that makes your research African
mm.
or Western.
If I may just say, I just feel because, I guess because we have been handed down these models, these academic models, so we maybe feel that maybe artistic research is too, in quote, personal, you know. So it feels it's almost a world apart from what we know as
As
research.
research. Yeah,
Yes.
I must say what we call what we know as research is the history. It's is historical. And the world has moved away from that understanding. It's not like we're saying that type of research is no longer valid, but what we are saying is that is valid as well as subjective positions. Like you can write from your subjective position and it will contribute to
To the broader
our
knowledge. Yes.
understanding of Africa or whatever. So, for instance, even this approach, like for instance, if you're doing um, a study on an individual, that cannot be objective. Like you're studying this composer. So that cannot, and all of that initially, like, or historically, all of that did not count as research. But
Mm,
today, they've been those approaches have been recognized, and I must
mm.
say it's not really about the West. It's not a West versus the rest kind of thing. So I wouldn't frame it that way. I'll say generally, scholarship has moved on to include these other approaches. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So, thank you, everyone. I hope you are listening, and I hope you're enjoying, and I hope you're writing down your questions. So please don't lose your train of thought. So, um, your works closely align with African-centered models. that tend to connect performance, scholarship, and community work. Can you briefly explain your approaches or models and how they shape the way you balance music and your research in your work?
Yeah, I think I won't say that I consciously choose a model that is African. I won't describe my research like that at all. Instead, what I think is we do not, as Africans, like many of us, given the kind of background that we have, we don't have the luxury of doing research that does not directly impact society. You know
Or
where
not,
you come
or
from.
sorry, or does not take directly from who we are as a people.
Yes. In fact, that's one side of it. It's about, leveraging your heritage, your identity, where you come from, and all that. But the other side is, for instance, I cannot have a ludomusicology research. Ludomusicology is about game music, game. I can't have that kind of research because there are more pressing needs. There are people who woke up today who are exceptionally gifted musicians, but they work as gatemen. That is
Mm,
my research. That was what I
mm,
encountered in Badagry.
mm,
This is a gate man. This person is a gardener. In fact, not even like some of them are itinerant farm workers. He works on this farm
mm,
today. They pay him a
mm.
token. And by the time you hear what this person plays on the drum or how this person sings, you will be blown away. Like there are some of my research participants or collaborators that will that can sing on any stage in the world. And I'm not
Wow.
even, they can sing on any stage in the world, but the world does not know about them.
Wow.
They're living, in the periphery of what we call music, or what we
Mm,
call, the music scene in Lagos, for instance. So, like, most of us won't see them, even they themselves. Sometimes they don't even identify as musicians because what they have is commonplace around them. Everybody sings like
uh,
this. But
wow.
I see those things and I know that these people they are incredibly talented.
Mm,
Their art. In fact, this is something that I've really, really harnessed and I've leveraged. I'll talk about it later. But
mm,
I've recorded music that I've recontextualized, repackaged, and the music today brings an income to these individuals who are sitting in Badagry. Last month, I
mm,
still paid X hundreds of thousands into their account,
mm,
royalty due them. So again, back to the question. The question is, you know, an African model versus a non-African model. I don't think of my research that way. I think of just addressing concrete problems, and then it
mm.
turns out that people interpret it as, oh, this is an African model.
Mm.
I hope that
So,
answers your
yes.
question.
Okay. I think could you share an example where your music project doubled as a form of research and community engagement?
Yeah, I think I'll take the community engagement part of that question. Again, I'll talk about my doctoral research where I went to Badagry, and initially my plan was not to collaborate with uh, an indigenous band, but it happened that in underserved communities, seeing someone from, say, Cape Town sort of brings an expectation. The
Hmm,
research participant want to know, how do we benefit from this, and that made reciprocity very important. Like, it's non-negotiable in
hmm,
my study concept. In my study context, you cannot say the ethics of research says that you shouldn't pay people. Like, there
hmm,
is nothing like that. Like, you can't, seeing that these people are materially deprived, you can't do extractive research. You
hmm.
can't just go and collect and collect and
Take.
collect and disappear. And then you go and publish on this, and then you write an a thesis and then you're awarded a degree. It doesn't work. Like this model will not work. I can assure you. If you do it, people will see it as you have taken advantage of them. So you have to negotiate some form of reciprocity. And that was what brought me to the point of recording an album for the band I collaborated with, Gogoke Band. And
Mm.
we had the good fortune of meeting the right people. This album was accepted by Mama Dance. Mama Dance is the biggest music library in Africa,
Oh.
and they are in collaboration with Universal Records. So these
Oh,
musicians can now sit in Igbokbele Badagry and earn royalties from their work. So
fantastic.
for me, like it just gives me joy. Like I tell people around me that I just derive this joy from paying people. The fact that I can send that, I can click that send button, and I know the other person is receiving that amount on the other side. I haven't just recorded their song. Like this was recorded in 2017, and this is 2025. Members of that band are still earning from that recording. It makes me happy, it gives me joy. It makes me see that as researchers, we actually have platforms that can contribute something to transforming our society. It's not everything that the government is going to do.
Mm,
So, yeah, let me just
mm.
stop there.
Fantastic. This is really interesting. Now I'm sure everybody wants to know this. What are some of the challenges you face as an artist scholar working within African institutions and global music networks? Let me ask that first so we can talk to that. What are some of the challenges you face as an artist scholar?
Yeah, I think it would not be it won't be fair for me to talk about my challenges because I think I'm quite privileged given the kind of context in which I work. For instance, I work in an institution where I still get funded to conduct research. I have access to a good library. So it wouldn't be fair for me to come here and be telling you I face one, two, three, four, five challenges. Like some of those challenges to some of the people listening might even be this person is overindulged. See, he just has everything. You're complaining about this. You should come and see what we are facing. So, because I understand that in other institutions, it could be challenging to do research, especially in a country where the government does not prioritize research. And by prioritizing, I mean, education itself is not well funded in many of our African countries.
Mm.
So, yeah, I won't focus on the challenges that I face. Instead, I think I'd like to talk about maybe the opportunities.
Opportunities.
Yeah,
Okay, so what opportunities do you see for musicians, researchers who are following similar paths or engaging scholars, musicians who want to follow similar paths? But on the issue of the challenges, maybe you're not facing them right now, but I'm sure back in the day when you just started, you faced some challenges. So can you just walk us through some of them and how you overcame them? Because we understand that where you are now is probably not the same space as where some of the, upcoming musician scholars are, So
yeah.
what were those challenges you faced and how did you overcome them?
The challenges are not even necessarily negative. I would say, like, sometimes it's a challenge to decide whether to research Yoruba tradition or to research Ogu, knowing that socially I'm Yoruba. But if you look at what has been documented about Ogu people, it's yeah, it sort of offers more opportunities. So sometimes I've tended more toward just crossing from one. For instance, I just sent an article on a project that we've been working on, the Yoruba storytelling tradition, Alo. So It is before I even decided to foray into that. It was a bit challenging to decide, okay, what exactly should I prioritize? What should I focus on? Then of course there is that perennial issue of funds. Like initially, you don't have the even currently. I'm talking about Mr. Okusaya's project that I'm working on. If I had enough resources, I would be in Lagos now conducting. This man is 80. I've had, I've collected data, but I feel like if I had the opportunity, I should be living with this man every day,
Yes,
asking him
asking
questions
questions.
and things like that. So, those will be challenges, funds, and all that. But talking about opportunities, I feel Africa has an enormous amount of under-researched, undocumented traditions. And there's something that really gets me. It really makes me question. Like, you find a lot of people just repeating things that have been done, and you're living in the midst of abundance. Like, for instance, I don't know why I've not seen any publication, I've not seen any work on Shola Alison's vocal style. All of it, that's just an example.
Mm-hmm.
Examples abound, like enormous. We have so much around us that we can research. And it's just very unfortunate that it's not like many people, maybe people also don't have the resources, but it's almost like even the few studies that you see, they tend to concentrate around the same issues. Everybody's researching Japa, or everybody's researching something. I don't want to start mentioning topics or discusses so that it doesn't sound like maybe I'm not happy that people are doing those things. But really, I feel like we have resources, cultural resources around us that have not been documented, that have not been researched.
So why
So
why why do you think this is? Is it lack of creativity or lack of inspiration? Because like I know there's research all around us. So why do you think
I'll
that? Yeah, go
I'll
on.
never ever say that it's lack of creativity. I believe with the challenges that we have, now I'm talking specifically about Nigeria, with the challenges that we have in Nigeria, I would argue that Nigerians are among the most creative people in the world. Because given those challenges, some people will just resign and say, but every time you go on YouTube or you go on Facebook, you see people doing things. So people actually are creative. Nigerians are creative. Researchers in Nigeria are creative. I would really blame it on the system. I think the system is not enabling. For instance, ideally, I don't know how many departments of music we have in Nigeria, and ideally, we as Nigerians, we should be reading at least say an article on whatever you want to research, at least one article per day. But the question is, do people have access to those articles? Even though it's a lot better now because you can go on a Google Scholar and still access several open access articles. But really, the history of the field, like say if you want to focus on ethnomusicology, not many people have access to the scholarship that exists.
Mm,
So
mm,
you find that because often inspiration comes from when you read what people have done,
mm,
it will spark something in you, and you'll be like, this thing that this person is describing, I know it. It's just not called this name in Badagry. I know it. I've seen it. I've
mm,
experienced it. So again, I think what is really limiting is the system. We don't have, and this is not to. This is just. It's a broad statement. It's not to undermine the important work that some of our scholars are doing. But I feel there is a major systemic issue that's limiting people,
mm,
and it's not allowing people think outside of, because some of the things that I've researched, for instance, it's been people who taught me that to say, what do you have where you come from? like people that will challenge you and show you things and expose you to research that can inspire you in a certain direction. So I
Mm,
think that's something that we can do a bit better on. And again, it's really not about the individuals. It's about the system.
mm,
And I must commend, for instance, what MTU is doing, creating this kind of platform for us to have discussions on different things. And I believe that a lot of people will be inspired from here.
mm,
And for instance, some of these things that I've said, I am so sure that someone has heard this and has taken it up like, ah, man, I should actually do something similar. So, if we can have systems like MTU's system all over Nigeria, not just one. Like we have multiple, in addition to whatever everyone else is doing. I believe that there will be a lot more opportunities. There will be a lot more preparedness
mm,
to harness the opportunities around us. Like
mm. Thank,
researchers will be better prepared. Because if you don't have that preparation, you sit in front of it and you won't be able to harness it. You won't know
mm,
how to even write about it. You won't
mm,
know what questions to ask.
mm, mm. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Thank you. Just for me to borrow a leaf from what you said, ladies and gentlemen, or our viewers, please, the reason why this space has been created is for us to engage. So once again, I would like to remind us that our YouTube channels, our social media channels are on the chats. Please, we create this forum so that we can have critical engagement of music scholarship, of music research, and I'd really like us to take advantage of this. And please follow us on our YouTube channel and just go through, the potpourri of conversations that we have had. Yeah, we are here to inspire, and we are here to add to and contribute to knowledge. So very quickly, thank you so much, Dr. Kunnuji. I'm having so much fun. I can't tell you. So now let's talk about collaboration and networking in artistic research. How have collaborations with other musicians, scholars, or communities helped or shaped your creative and research practices? What can emerging artists, scholars look out for or learn from such practices?
Yeah, I think
Dr.
first and
Kunji.
foremost, collaboration is inevitable. Even if you don't acknowledge it, collaboration is ubiquitous. It's something that you cannot do without, even if you don't call it collaboration. For instance, I know some of you might know the work of Francis Nyamjo, who sees interconnectedness, he has a concept around conviviality,
Mm,
uh, coming from incompleteness.
mm,
So he sees incompleteness as the natural order.
mm,
So collaboration is not something you can say, I will choose to collaborate, or I don't want to collaborate. I think the difference between people is some acknowledge it that they've taken from people, others don't acknowledge it. But I must say, collaboration is something that we can't even debate. It's the natural order of things. So yeah. So again, in my work, the community practitioners that I work with, they actually take the credit for the bulk of the things I contributed to earn a PhD.
mm.
Like for instance, I was talking to one of the band leader of Gogoke about, what we will call form, musical form.
Form.
And he shared an insight that was just phenomenal. He said the way they understand their music, or the form of their music, is like, obviously they reside, they live on the Atlantic coast in Badagry. So they see the ocean every day. So
Mm-hmm.
what he used to describe their music is the wave. So a wave starts building, and eventually it culminates at the show. So what he was saying is they usually start with the bell pattern. They add akpesi to that. They add aya. These are like indigenous instrument, indigenous percussion. They add all of that. And then the lead drum only comes in at the highest point of that wave, and after playing for some time they even have vocables. They go taka taka da taka da da, and that's the end. You're back to the bell pattern. For me,
Wow.
I have never heard form in music described that way
Interesting.
before. So each wave will build, then it culminates at the show.
Yes, and goes
So
comes
so
back. Yes.
whose knowledge is this? What I've described to you, whose knowledge is it?
Whose knowledge is it?
It's definitely not mine, but I
Yeah.
wrote it in my PhD.
Yeah.
So again, the point to be made is that we are all collaborating, whether we acknowledge it or not.
Yeah.
We are dependent on other people. And it's not a one-way thing. Other people also need us. They depend on us. And we are better when we acknowledge it, and we acknowledge people for their contributions and say, Nyam Joy is quite big on this idea of convivial scholarship.
Mm.
So for me, I recently co-authored an article with a colleague in my department. And one of the things I realized is if I had done this project by myself, this article wouldn't have been this rich.
Mm.
So collaboration is not something we should even be talking about.
Mm. I mean,
It's
I
not something
understand. Yeah,
we should be asking whether
we should be
how do you
debating.
collaborate.
Oh, I
It's,
understand that. It's just that, people still have that idea that I am the be all and end all. It is my work. Yes, that's the word.
yeah,
It's my work. It's my work.
that's
So
delusional.
yes.
It's yeah, because the reality is, and I also learned this from the same band, Gogoke. I would ask the band leader that who composed this song, and that concept was so strange to them. They'll say only one need, that is it's our song, it's our song. Even though this one was the one that brought the melody and and the text and all that, they never claim any song. Like you would
Mm,
never hear the band leader say, this is my song.
mm,
But
mm,
I guess, we've inherited this from our our formal training to
mm-hmm.
refer to
Exactly.
individuals as composers and all that, even though in the process they've worked with several people who contributed to that idea. I'll still come out and then we'll go and mention them in the footnote and say, so and so person read this article. I'm grateful for your contribution. The reality is they've contributed something so significant without which this article will not exist.
Which
Like
is
in
which
my case, at least.
which
So
should be more than a
yeah,
footnote.
it should be more than like, and the other side of it is people like Samuel Araujo from Brazil will have an article and list 35 authors.
Mm.
So, I think that's just his own way of saying I can't claim the credit.
The credit. Mm.
Yeah, I can't
Okay, thank you. Thank you so
single-handedly.
much, Doc. Thank you so much, Dr. Kunnuji. Now, looking ahead, how do you envision the role of artistic research in transforming music studies and creative practice on the continent and beyond? What is your advice for emerging music scholars in terms of artistic research and its potentials?
Yeah, I think the potential, what is possible with artistic research is enormous. It's massive, and I believe that with this approach being acknowledged, we are set to welcome an enormous amount of contributions from lesser known traditions and practices that people that have not been canonized. So I think it's a beautiful thing, artistic research, just like autoethnography, like I mentioned earlier on. So it's beautiful that we are able to write from subjective positions and we are no longer obsessing with being objective in research. So yeah, and again, you never can tell where this will go. It's just like this whole AI thing. You don't know where it's going to end up. So all I can just say is that there is potential. And I think the way it concerns us, instead of worrying about where it's going, we should leverage it. We should
Mm,
write. I believe there are so many African stories that need to be told. So we
mm,
should. So if you don't have the resources to go out and conduct an empirical research and all of that, you can still work with something that your choir that you're part of,
mm,
that group or that
mm,
festival that you take part in every
mm-hmm.
year. That's those are opportunities for you. So
Yeah.
I think that's what we should bother ourselves with, not
Mm,
necessarily where this is going.
mm. Wow, thank you so much, Dr. Kunnuji. This has been so interesting. I have learned a lot. I'm glad that I'm the host. So I'm garnering a lot of knowledge from our conversation. Now I am going to throw this open to everyone on the call, our listeners. I'm sure you have your questions now. I'm sure you have maybe a comment, a clarification you need, or real genuine questions that you would like to ask. Like I said before, this is a safe space. Every question, all questions are welcome, especially because they are questions that will help us, expand our knowledge. So please, if you have a question, raise your hand in the chats. Okay, I think we have one. Mr. Adeoluwa. Sorry, I'm so sorry. Professor Adeoluwa.
It
Please
doesn't matter, basically. That's okay. Don't,
Okwande.
don't worry.
Thank you. So please
Thank you.
forgive.
No, you are good. We are good. We are good, sister. We are good. But thank you, Dr. Kuniji, for that. Though I joined late, just because of the time difference in our different time zone. But the one I met you, I just want to quickly make some to buttress one or 2 points. One of the ways. Let me first acknowledge the details you gave and the language used. The language used gladdened my heart. The one I listened to. They are seasoned, and they also salute your maturity in defending certain things that some other scholars or modern scholars will just use derogatory language to some of us. God bless you for that. Let me quickly say that one of the ways we can get out of this issue of our space is not conducive enough economically. People are trying to look for what to eat. They don't want they will not be able to concentrate on research. But what we can do is this: for the teachers in the colleges, for professors, we can make our students, at least 2, 3 students, to make it easier for them to work and break some new grounds. You just mentioned Shola Alisi vocal style, and there are 1001 of it now. And you'll be surprised that when you go online, you see journalists, independent researchers who are not in the classroom writing beautifully about them, about all these things. You'll be surprised. So one of the ways is just look here, let supervisors, lecturers in the colleges put 2, 3 students together. You can make a whole class to make it easier for them. When they don't want to go to the field, they can put their resources together instead of putting it on just on one person. That's on the one hand. On the other hand is that I want to say, well, I'm happy from what your the band leaders at Badagry, what they told you. Let me say this: that issue of copyright did not exist in old Africa. Community owns art, so it's not issue of it's my composition. It is your composition. You stole my composition, and that is one of the ways to do that. Africans have first acknowledged gifts and potential that come from God. Having first acknowledged that, they now start their own training, formal training. It will not be in the classroom, and that's why you see a small boy, a small girl of 5, 6, going to the square, going to concert at the village, at that community, watching, carrying drums for them, playing it at with his own peers, and they go through that training. Look at our ladies. It is just now that the people of the West now have closed their mouth, because they used to accuse her that, oh, sensual dance, you always take your waist, you also do this one. No. And we told them that it is a way of training the pelvic of the ladies. So when they get to the labor room, it becomes easier for them. So from babies, they start learning how to shake their waist. It is maternity dance. It is not just shaking the waist. We have told them, now they have listened that, oh, that is true. When a 5-year-old girl starts from that band in Badagry, start shaking his waist, jumping waist, by the time he becomes, he gets to that puberty stage, get married, the waist continue. The waist shaking continues. So copyright does not exist. So I'm happy you brought that this morning. So it's not usually, that's my, it's not your composition. I have also told them, for those of us also involved in the other music, in choral music or in church music, that those who own the stage are the backup singers. If you operate in a Pentecostal church where you have a lead vocal thing is the star. And I said, look here, you're not the star, it's the backup. The backup is your community. They can mess you up. They will not give you the vibe you want.
That's very true.
They will not give you that vibes that you want. And that is why you will see independent improvisation, independent variation in that your band at Badagry. Each person will always have a space to express himself. Thank you, Dr. Kunnuji. Let me not give another lecture. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Prof.
you, MTU. Thank you, Miss Igi and Dr. Anide. Thank you. And Dr. Buyemi, the HOD. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Okay, Chijioke.
Yeah, that's all right. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Kunnuji, for your presentation. So I just wanted to ask you something bordering on finance, economics.
Yeah.
Most times when we talk about the things we want to do, things we want to research, we finally come to the reality that these things would depend on the money with which they would be done, the economic resources. So in the country where we all come from, these are hardly, they are hard to come by. The universities are not, providing funds for people to research anything they want to do, especially given the period we are. People are just trying to survive. So in this kind of situation, when many of our people try to look outside Nigeria, look to the West for funding, and they have to do things that they can do, or rather the funding bodies want them to do in order to get that money. How do you think, Nigerian scholars or Nigerian music scholars should navigate this? Because it's one thing to do a research to maybe establish the integrity of African knowledge system, and then it's one thing to be able to structure your funding proposal to fit the funding body from the West, what they want, and be able to get the funds. So there is always that conflict, the transactional conflict between getting the funds and researching things the way it should have been done. So how do you think this should be navigated? I mean, you are in the UK, and I believe maybe you've been using funds from the West to do research or something like that. So I was gonna think that you should tell us how that can be navigated.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, essay actually. Thank you very much for the question.
Thank you.
I think there isn't one blanket answer or response to this. But one thing that I found has really helped with my kind of advocacy is to start with whatever you're able to research with the minimal resources that you have. For instance, if my goal, you know that even this Gogoke's project that I'm talking about, I have a goal of doing a lot more with Badagry musical culture. But the thing is with Gogoke, the project that I did with Gogoke, I have something to present, to negotiate for more funds, to apply for more funds. So even if one cannot take on Gogoke Band, you can take on just the bell pattern that Gogoke Band uses. So we take that bell pattern, write about it. That becomes something that it becomes a token that you can present to ask for more funds. And I'm not really sure what you mean when you say funding bodies, they want you to do things in a certain way. The little I know with the kind of research that we do, there is a lot that's up to you. A lot is up to you on what you want to foreground and what you want to what you want to discuss basically. So I'm not really sure funding bodies police what you can write or what you can. Maybe if you had a concrete example, I'll be able to speak to that. But generally, what I've found that has really worked for me is starting from the small or the little you can manage with the resources you have. And definitely this is like the video that we saw at the beginning of the program, that was over 10 years ago. And that was very reassuring for me that, this is a journey that will take several years, but the good thing is you would always make progress. So start with the little you can do this year. Next year, you grow to something bigger, and then it grows like that.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, just to clarify something. Thank you for answering. When I talk about funding bodies, sort of trying to determine what you're researching or what you're doing, it's not that they are limiting you in the process of the research itself, but rather in the goal of the research. Because the idea is always so why should we care? That's the phrase. So why should we care about this thing that you're doing? Does it, is it part of the goal of the funding body? So
Yeah,
you
yeah.
might
Let me
decide.
quickly respond to that because
Okay,
we're running out of time.
okay.
This issue of why should we care, I found that you must always look for how to connect your research to a broader issue in society. You must always, like in the first page of your proposal, someone who is not interested in music should be able to read the first page of your proposal and be drawn in. Even though the case that you are using is a musical case, there must be an issue that's more present, that's bigger than music, that you must connect your work with. I won't say more than that.
Thank you so much. I hope this helps you and it has answered your question. Can we have Mr. the one and only, if I may say, Mr. Ganikale? Could you please unmute your mic and contribute?
One and only, Sha. Well, good afternoon. I have been listening very intensively, and I must say, Dr. Kunnuji, in such a short period of time, you have said so much, a lot of stuff that I even began to ask myself, where do I begin from? Most especially when Professor Kwade came in as well. It opens another avenue to it. But if there are time later, maybe I could touch in on some other area. But for now, let me look into your closing statements. I mean, I've really been very moved by how you describe artistic research as a living, subjective process, and especially by your comparison to AI, because that's where my interest is, and because it really connects with with what I'm currently exploring in my own practice.
Mm.
Like you, I see artistic research as a way of knowing from within, through sound, through memory. But in my case, I have been asking, what happens when we bring that same consciousness into digital systems? You see, in my work on digital juju, I am developing a voice-triggered talking drum interface that responds to Yoruba vocal gestures in real time. It is not about automating music, don't get me wrong here. It is about making technology speak in Yoruba tongues to make the environment culturally aware, So when you said, and I quote, instead of worrying about where AI is going, we should leverage it. I want to hug you when I heard that, that's what it's going to sing, and I felt it so deeply. For me, that means using these emerging technologies to preserve, to reanimate, to extend African musical intelligences rather than replace them. In that sense, so artistic research becomes a bridge. It becomes a way to translate indigenous modes of knowing into contemporary systems. I agree with you, we can't afford to stand aside and watch AI unfold from a Western perspective. We have to reshape it. We have to shape it actually, and to encode our own epistemologies into,
Yeah.
and that
Machine learning and all that.
for the next frontiers for African-centered artistic research. Let me not take too much time. I mean, this is just one. There are so many things you've mentioned, but let me just stop on this. If there is time, I could bring in a couple of other things, so we can find time to talk
Yeah,
after.
thank you very much. Thank you very much for that insightful comment. Yeah, it's a comment more than a question. So you correct, or I agree with you that, yeah, we should focus on what we can do with the emerging technology. So I think we should give the others an opportunity to ask their questions.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ganikale. Okay, Mr. Adeolu Abe, Dr. Adeolu Abe.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me, please?
Sorry, sir, we can hardly hear you. Your network is breaking.
Oh, so bad. Hello? Maybe I
Okay,
should try and speak
It's
louder.
better now.
It's better now. It's better now.
All right. Thank you so much. I sincerely want to appreciate these thoughts you've shared with us. I want to appreciate Kachi on that seat. Thank you so much for a good job. Yeah, mine is more of a comment to few things you mentioned, or a particular thing. All right, I appreciate great perspective and the depth of the aspect of research you brought in. Trying to say that we should look. There are so many other areas that people are not really looking into, or they are not attempting to do. Now, and you mentioned, for example, Shola Alicen's styles of singing and all that. At the same time, I so much appreciate the fact that you recognized the situation we are in around this part of the world, which is the system problem. I must say that in our universities, for example, in OAU where I finished, research on Shola Alicen style of singing, composition, performance style, and all that abound. Sincerely, it abounds. In the
don't read
shelf
about them in journals.
There, you're right. The system, I'll come out again to say the system. we have many of these things are bound here, and but the system could be who are still they are going through to get it, out there. But we are trusting God, we are getting better. But thank you for those insightful thoughts. And I personally look forward to possibly having to do one or two things with you to learn few other things after this program, if we can have your contact. Thank you so very much.
Yes, please. I think I'll just drop my email address in the chat.
Thank you.
So thank you very
so
much for
Dr. Kunnuji. Thank you. So very quickly, we might not be able to take all the questions. We'll probably have space for 2 or 3 more, but let's go on, please.
I believe if everybody can just quickly, we can, because it would be nice to just hear what everyone is thinking.
It would be very nice. So if we can
let's take short ones.
Yes, mindful of time, because we know that Dr. Kunnuji is also going to respond. Mr. Juan Adenuga, please unmute your microphone.
Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world, and good day to Dr. Kunnuji. And I very like to thank you for what you do. So my question, to be very succinct enough, is when you talk about artistic research, the idea of engaging your work, I'm wondering what's your method of describing your work, engaging your work. You are not necessarily oversimplifying what you've done, or in a way also over indulging in a way. How do you balance talking about analyzing this idea of auto ethnography? How do you
let me just quickly respond to that in the interest of time. I think that on its own is a topic for another session, but I'll say that the first thing is, before you start doing anything, before you write anything, before you even start saying you want to engage, read what people have done. Read a lot of what people have done that are considered autoethnographic or artistic research. So from reading, you will definitely have an idea of how to proceed. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Dr. Peter Silvanus, could you unmute your microphone, please? Dr. Peter, are you there? Okay, if we are not there, could we have Dr. Ayolurati? Please unmute your microphone, sir.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon.
It's nice to see you again, Dr. Kunnuji. I must apologize. I missed I missed your presentation for the same reason of time difference. But I just believe that listening to the questions, I'll be able to dive into what you presented. And my dear brother, Gani Kale, gave me the pathway to get into it. I believe you must have talked about the issue of IA and leveraging instead of putting AI aside or critiquing it, we should embrace it.
Yeah.
I want to assume that was your disposition.
Yeah.
My question to you is this: as Africans, is AI something we can embrace just like that? We need to know where we're coming from. We need to know our deficiencies.
Yeah.
ChatGPT in the hands of Africans is different from ChatGPT in the hands of Americans. It's all about prompting. Yeah. Before you can prompt, what's your knowledge base?
Yeah.
That's one. Okay. The second part of it is all this AI stuff is data driven. It's all data driven. At the back end, what are you dealing with? How much of the data sets do you have that you can describe as Africanist? I was part of a conference at Kabarak, and I presented my research where I evaluated like 10 AI systems to compose a piano piece. So my presentation was, talking about, I talked about composing from the human aspect and the machine aspect. So what did I do? I defined composition as a theoretical exercise. And I composed a piano piece with a theoretical framework situated on African musical principles. And then I now asked AI to do the same thing. I don't want to bore you. I didn't only do that, I went to the back end of all these AI systems. Some use the large language modeling system, LLM, which is what the ChatGPT uses. Some use it, all of them are neural, what they call neural. So basically what I'm hitting at is this. As a composer, I understand compositional processes. So I now questioned the processes that this AI system are using from the technological point of view, including the coding system. Do you get it? And at the end of it, I'm like, this tool can be dangerous to Africans. And like Professor Mapaya said, he said, it can be another level of colonization. And at the end of it, my disposition is still what you said, that don't let us throw it away. But our African indigenous knowledge systems must be codified, must be digitalized into data sets, and we must have our own version of whatever AI has to offer. Otherwise, it's going to be a second wave of colonization. Already it is happening. Go and survey the so-called music produced with AI. If you are very conversant with the principles of analysis, critical analysis, you discover that it's the same thing. And just like in Africa right now, we don't understand classical music beyond Beethoven, Mozart. The same thing is going to happen again. So my point is, or my question to you is, do you consider that this tool, want us to embrace, can enslave us all the way again? Before you buy something and take it home, you want to know what it is. Before you embrace something, before you hug something, you want to know what it is. That's just that's my question to you. Do we know what we're embracing? Do we understand it? And that from the perspective of Africa.
Dr. Lurati, thank you very much, sir. I believe we are on the same side of this discourse. We are on the same side. I totally agree with what you've said. And in fact, that's one of the reasons why I would suggest that before you say you want to engage with something, or you want to work on something, or you want to write about something, you need to first of all start from reading. You need to read extensively about whatever it is you want to contribute to. You need to know what it is. You need to be able to do it without AI. You need to be a master of it. Then if you are now presented with a tool, it makes your work even a lot easier. What you spend an hour to do, if you have the right tools, you do in 10 minutes, if you know what you're doing. So on that, I can't agree more with you. Thank you very much for your comments, sir.
I mean, we should be, especially, don't let me say Africa, let me say Nigeria. We have we have the problem of value system. It is a Yahoo mentality. You don't study, you don't do anything, just get it. Do you get it? And when they quote you, Professor Kunnuji, he said we should embrace AI. They will embrace it with a Yahoo mentality. I failed the whole class because I asked them to compose and they gave me AI solutions.
Imagine.
Such people, they're going to quote you. You have said we should embrace it. So we should start thinking of how to really address this matter, the matter of ethics. You said something clearly. Before you can use AI, whatever AI is going to do, you must be able to do it yourself.
Yeah.
That you must be able to do it yourself. Our Yahoo senses in Nigeria will never let us know how to do it first. As long as somebody can think for you, do it and get the money. So we are still in trouble. In this colonization thing, we are in trouble if we're not careful. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir, Dr. Oluroti. Okay, so Mr. Ganikale, your hand is raised. Can you manage to do this in 1 minute or less?
I'm going to be very brief because what Dr. Laurent has brought into this is another thing entirely. I just want to say, like, like both of you have positioned, Dr. Laurent and Dr. Kunnuji, that we need to study and read what is on ground and be able to do in person what we aim to do with these technologies. I think you just posed a question to the academia in Nigeria. You just throw the challenge at them. It's a way of saying, what exactly are we feeding to the people we are teaching? Are we giving them enough information, enough cultural information to be able to understand their essence so that they can feed it into whatever technology to claim it? I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. Like you, Dr. Oluranti, for instance, you are a seasoned drummer. When you take this technology, you know what you are talking about. You know what you are doing. You know what you feed into it. And like the data said, everything you've said is correct. I think it all comes back to academia. What are we emphasizing on? What are we giving out to our students? Thank you.
I take that as a rhetorical question. So every one of us needs to go and think about that. And yeah, thank you very much once again for that beautiful contribution.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ganikale. Thank you so much, Doc Kunnuji, and for all our contributors. This has been such an interesting conversation today. And this is what the Organ House Concert and Seminar Series is all about. Please join us every Thursday. We're here every Thursday, 1 p.m. West African time, for engaging conversations just like this. And please, one more time, do not forget to connect with us on all our social media handles, especially on our YouTube page, which the link, of course, has been put in the chats. Dr. Kunnuji, we are so grateful for the time you have spent with us today. Thank you again for also sending your email address. So for those who want to still connect with Dr. Kunnuji, I am sure that you can send him an email and he will respond to you. I am so honored to be the one who hosted this particular edition of the Organ House Concert and Seminar Series. Please stay tuned again next week, Thursday. We're bringing you another interesting conversation. Do engage with us for another edition of the Organ House Concert and Seminar Series. Thank you once again, everybody, for contributing. Thank you for all our listeners. Please spread the news, share the word. We are a safe space where we can engage and have conversations. And thank you all once again. God bless you all. Bye.